Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic, and welcome to this very special edition of the Wacky Silver Woo. With me, of course, to discuss all things silver, gold, and also crypto, the one and only BIX. You can find his work at roadtoruta.com and also here on his YouTube channel. BIX, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm busy, but very excited. Lots of new people saying, "What the fuck is happening?"
Exactly. That's why I have you on. Thank you for being here, Bix. And folks, please also join me in welcoming the great JSnip4, the treasure hunter extraordinaire. You can find his work at JSnip4 here on Patreon, as well as on his YouTube channel, JSnip42, where he currently posts most of his videos. Joe, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
Pretty good. It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It's been a minute. Well, you and I did, I think we did a show with Richard maybe 2 months ago. It goes fast, eh? Crazy times. Crazy times. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We are triple casting on YouTube, Rumble, and X. We're going to try to decipher, as Big says here, all the craziness that's happening. Welcome to all the new people, kind of just learning about crypto, gold, and silver here with all the news and the all-time highs we've been seeing, and also the crashes of last week. We're going to try to decipher all of that for you guys to let us know where we are in the timeline of the WebBot project predictions, and perhaps more importantly, where we go from here. A lot of people are asking, what the fuck is happening with this market? We can't make heads or tails. Is it risk on, risk off, or all of the above? Let's get into it tonight. Biggs, man, I told you this in the chat a couple of days ago, inviting you to this show. You were one of the big reasons I woke up to silver over a decade ago. I remember watching you on SJT Report, and I think you had been on also on Greg Hunter's USA Watch in his early days. So again, for everybody else here, big thank you to you, Biggs, for waking me up and helping me get on this path to helping more people wake up to all of this. But it's been a long road for you trying to explain this, shouting it for the rooftops for decades. How do you feel right now? Even though it might be a little bit bittersweet to see what's happening in the markets, how do you feel just looking at the overall events here? Let's say in the last 2 months, really, when we've seen all of this explosive movement.
Well, it's been for me 26 years now that I've been fighting this fight. I'll guarantee you this. When silver's at $600, I'll be more scared than I am now. And people say, "What the hell are you talking about?" I feel fine when I know their big plays are over. And this was a big play, obviously. But the reality of this one, I mean, in January, we're up 8% in January. Silver's up 8% in January. Yeah, there was a 35% slam, but they allowed the price to go up 35%, and then they slammed it down 35%. We're still up 8% in January.
And we're still 9 consecutive months of closing higher in silver. Yeah. So that's actually great. Yeah.
And I mean, to me, I look at it and I'm like, well, nothing changed from the supply and demand, which is the most important thing. We've got 180 years of price suppression in silver has done 2 things. One, it made it so that nobody knows about silver. But number 2, it made it so that they only can mine 800 million ounces every year. If silver was at, $1,000 or $2,000, it wouldn't be a byproduct metal. They'd be mining, 2 billion ounces a year if they could find it, but they haven't. And so it's the rigger's fault that we're in this precarious position of not having enough silver to feed the industrial side. And now we got the investors starting to come in saying, "Hey, what's this?" And there's no silver left for them. So it's crazy. And then all the dealers don't know how to deal with it because they're usually, selling it off to the next bigger guy who's got plenty of money. And now those guys don't have any money. And they're like, "Oh shit, what do I do? I don't have the money to run my shop." So it's crazy. It's crazy. Some places there's no silver to be found. Some places they're trying to give it away.
Hopefully, if you're watching the show tonight, you're in an area where somebody wants to give it away. We're going to get into why it's a strategic metal, why everybody's turning into what Bix Weir was saying decades ago. Joe, let me ask you the same thing. Before we get into too much details, I'm going to bring up some of the news items here over the last month or two that seem to be making headways into mainstream population. But for you as well, you started way back when trying to trade futures and understanding that, holy shit, you can get fucked really fast when they change the rules the last minute on you. And then you moved to physical. How do you feel looking at all this? Also, you being out there, being a proponent of if you don't hold it, you don't own it. You've shared so much of this wealth of information with your audience over the last decade or so on the previous channel and this one including. How do you feel to be here right now where we're at triple digits, we're just below it, we're back at it, and close. Maybe if you're looking at some of the Fibonacci sequences that some of the TA guys are doing, close to that $600 silver, maybe just be around the corner. How do you feel with all of this right now, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming. I mean, I started stacking, I think, in 2007. You know, my dad and I were talking about stuff, and he was telling me his story about he was around in the 1980s, and he was buying. He I don't know how he got into it, but these hotels were liquidating all their mattresses because they had to get new mattresses, so they were letting them go for like pennies. And a friend of him like hooked him up. So he's like, you know, buy them and put an ad in the paper and resell them for $50 a piece or something. So my dad did. He made a killing on these mattresses. So he had all this money. He goes, I'm going to go buy some silver. So he had, I think he had 1,000 ounces or something he had saved up. And his two buddies, like, what are you doing buying physical silver? You just go down. There was an exchange in there in California. They could just drive down to and play the futures game back then. And oh yeah, if it goes up this much, you leverage, blah blah blah. You know, so they convinced my dad, "What are you messing with this? You know, driving around with silver when it goes up, you want to sell some." So he goes and plays that game. And again, this is when they forced everybody to sell the silver. There were no buyers, just sellers only, essentially. And it crashed the price of silver, crashed the price of gold. You know, gold was I think what 8 or 850 or whatever it was. Crashed that. Everything got crashed. Dad gets wiped out. Margin call. You know, like. Then here I am, 2007 or 2008 technically. I've been stacking since 2007, so I had a little bit saved up, maybe a couple hundred, 200-300 ounces at that time. And I'm thinking I don't want to play that game, but I'll play like wheat and corn and other things. And then I remember reading an article about people in the bread line in Egypt killing each other because the price of wheat went up so much, and therefore the bread that they were getting handouts, they're fighting over it. And I'm like, man, I don't feel good about being a part of that. So I'm like, what else can I play with? And I'm like, oh, silver. I'm like, oh, so I get into silver. I go ahead and open a contract up, and I made a few $100 relatively quickly on that. And I was like, oh, all right. Like,
this is easy.
you know? Yeah. You know, like every trader probably has said, you know, and then all of a sudden, I think it was 20 or 21, whatever it was, smashed down, margin requirement change, blah, blah, all that same game they always pull, crashed it down to like 17, instant liquidation. I get an email. Get a phone call. I was at work. You owe us, you know, your account's cleaned out and you still owe us like $500. So all the money I put in to make a few $100 was about $3,500, I think.
Yeah.
So my 3,500 or whatever it was, let's say, turned into like 4,000. And now 4,000's gone and I owe $500 while I was sleeping in the middle of the night or whatever it was, the morning or whatever the hell happened.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson. I started doing my research, JP Morgan. Okay. You know, still, and I was checking out the Webbot stuff back then too, a little bit here and there. But yeah, I mean, we're here. All the stuff he's warned about, all the stuff that were in those reports, you know, the times, everything that's like, that would be like BIX is saying, you know, what $600 silver, you know, like, what's it going to look like outside? And we're already seeing these riots, you know, all the frauds being uncovered in Minnesota, California, everywhere there's a Democratic city or state, the federal funds are being absolutely raped and pillaged by, you know, our taxpayer dollars, and they're being uncovered. So where's the first riot? Oh, let's go to Minneapolis where the Somali fraud things are happening. So, you know, that's happening. It reminds me of the Q post stuff. Like the military is going to come in, and it's probably going to be under that situation with too much riding over the ICE stuff.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyways.
Okay. Well, thank you for that quick intro. Thank you both, BIX and Joe. Again, you were a big part of my waking up to this a long time ago, and I know how hard you've worked to try to be honest and give the best information to the audience over these years. And I know how much shit you guys ate for a number of years for doing that work too. But yet here we are. I just want to go back for people who are just watching this show now and they want to understand why we're here. Because Joe says we're here. And I would have to concur, we're here, we're in it now. It's no longer a question of if, when, or but. We're in the transition. How long that transition is going to be to where we get to maybe unobtainium or a parity with gold. We'll try to decode that a little bit tonight. But I want to go back maybe a couple of months to kind of set the stage to why I think, Joe thinks, and probably BIX thinks as well, that we're here. So first, gold being reclassified as a tier 1 asset, setting the stage for this. The death of the petrodollar agreements with Saudi Arabia. China, just this last year, announcing that they would stop selling their own mine production as of January of this year, unless there was a special permit. We had JP Morgan, of course, who was caught spoofing the silver market and then changing their strategy, building physical reserves to now being net long. These are all big tectonic plates that were happening in the background. And if it weren't for Joe and BIX trying to connect the dots for you guys here on alternative media, the mainstream news was still kind of like, no, that's still a pet rock. Don't look over there. You guys are stupid. Just listen to Kramer on CNBC. He knows what he's talking about, but don't listen to Joe or BIX. What did I miss in some of those very, very big tectonic plates and moves, BIX, that you think also adds to the pile as to why we're here now in those famous web audit reports, and also in your famous predictions as where mathematically this would ultimately end up? Why are we here now, BIX?
Well, all those things you mentioned should be reasons for silver and gold to be moving. They aren't. It's the same game. I discovered this game in 2007 when I really took a deep dive into what makes the price of silver do anything, and it's all the futures and options and derivatives, computer high frequency trading. Blythe Masters back in the day was doing it, and once you figure that out, it doesn't matter what story they tell you. It won't do anything to the price unless they click that mouse. If they click the mouse, like the other day, Friday, we had that huge 35% drop. 2 billion ounces of electronic silver were dumped on the market. 2 billion. But that market is not a real market. It's mainly banks trading back and forth with each other to set the price. There aren't that many COMEX traders out there.
Right.
And the ones that are bad are gone because they lose their ass because they're not in the know when the banks tell each other, okay, the thing I talked to Andy Scheckman about for a very long time was they don't care about making or losing money. They don't care. They care about keeping the system going. I mean, JP Morgan, when they got busted for rigging the silver and gold markets back in 2019, they got fined $920 million. Well, we found out like 6 months later that same year that they had to post that loss, they posted a $1 billion gain in gold and silver trading. So they had it in their pocket. A lot of times they'll lose money in silver, but in the same month, make the same amount or more in gold, and vice versa. They just tell the bank, hey, you make it in gold and I'll take the silver hit this month. And then we'll flip it up and do the exact opposite. If you know which way the market's going, all the stories behind it don't even matter. So until we shut down the COMEX and the LBMA, there won't be any free trading in silver, free market trading. Now, having said that, we've hit a point where they've run out of the real stuff. They need real stuff to make these solar panels, to make the electric cars. And we've been lied to about that too. About the Silver Institute, their annual silver survey is a ridiculous joke. I mean, every year they come up with 1 or 2% growth in the amount of silver used in the industrials. When, I mean, 2 years ago, the solar industry installed 76% more solar panels with more silver in each panel because of TopCon. And the Silver Institute said it was only 36% of silver increase. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? But they do it with everything, with electric cars. Look how many electric cars there are now. Every year they sell electric cars used up an extra 2%. They love 1 and 2% of silver growth. And so we're so far behind in telling the truth about the amount of silver being used in industrial. And because they don't let the price go up, they can never mine any more silver. It's going to stay at $800 if they don't let the price run to where it's supposed to be. So right. This is a death trap of their own making, that we're going to run out of silver at just the exact time when the retail buyer is going to come in.
So your thesis as to we're here now, they're still playing the same games. We saw it, like you said, like last Friday, 1.8 billion ounces of silver, 2 years more than annual supply traded in one day. I mean, it's absolutely astronomical. But at the same time, what we're seeing is a bifurcation between the paper markets and the physical silver. And what you're saying is here, the LBMA and the COMEX seem to be reducing their float at a very rapid clip to the point where they might not be able to play this game. And this could be also happening in the background because we're not seeing that arbitrage gap being filled now for the last 2 weeks. Joe, let me ask you also, why do you feel that we're here now? I'll bring up this video and I'll bring the link down to the chat for the audience members. You posted something, you've posted 2 of these in the last 2 weeks where you're looking at some of the older WebBot data reports. And it's funny, I just did a show a couple of months ago saying exactly that, but I was looking at something different, but just saying that it was 10 years kind of like off cue. And you're coming in here saying the same thing, looking at all these older WebBot reports talking about concurrently the news around the silver explosion, what would be happening to the Democratic Party, the food riots, the implosions from within, the Epstein files, all of this stuff. You're picking this up now, and you just did a nice report for the audience members. Guys, I recommend you go check it out. What are the highlights here that also suggest that perhaps, yes, Cliff was maybe early by 10 years in his WebBot reports, but why also what you're seeing in your news coverage convince you that we're in it now, we're here now? Joe?
Well, the biggest thing obviously is the price. They always would, the last times they got the $50 with the price of it, they just nailed it. This time it was like no one's manning the station. No one's manning the station until it got a little crazy and got over $100. And okay, we need to do a wipeout job, which we saw, giant move. But again, Cliff I said you'd see these moves per day, $2, $5, $10, $20. We just had it blow past a $20 move when they wiped that thing out on Friday. Right. And before that, of course, we had plenty of 2 and 5 and such day moves. So, all that data said is when you start to see that, there's going to be turmoil across the planet, essentially, and it's not going to get better. wait till $600 silver if you think it's starting to get bad. So, you're looking at all this stuff, the fraud being shown, all that data in his reports, which there wasn't much of it that I mentioned because that guy who did that report for me didn't include it, but because he didn't need to. But, you go back to those old reports, there's plenty in there about the government fraud that's going to be uncovered and, the secrets revealed. And, I could just imagine okay, we had Cliff talk about people who worked in maybe not directly in government, but like contractors or whoever, or both. All of a sudden, they need money. They got laid off. Something happened. The money spigot stopped. Oh, I'll just let some secrets out. Not only that, documents are going to be leaked. We're already seeing the leaking of certain things. But I'm just wondering, with all the stuff, again, the so-called protests and all this crap, but what happened on February 1st? Federal funding has now dried up for all of you Democrat states and cities that have been pulling most of this fraud off anyways, because of the sanctuary status and other things. So is it going to be that stops certain people from getting paid, that this goes to the next level in the WebBot report? It may be. I'll just say maybe. But I know a lot of us are going to be looking around. Like, I keep seeing videos constantly, like on Facebook and stuff, that'll just pop up from people saying, why the hell have I been paying taxes for this long? I work my ass off. I've had 2 jobs. I work this many hours a week. And these people come over here and start a freaking fake daycare center. They're, taking all of our money and doing it, committing fraud everywhere. Why am I working so hard for this? And people are going to be an absolute tax revolt. And which, again, why I said that I think Trump's he's going to remove that IRS income tax, because people are going to be like, I'm not going to pay anyways. So he was already ahead of the game. Right. But everything that's happening right now is just, and again, you got shit blown up in Europe. I mean, he'd have all those little, China pop, Europe pop, USA pop, all these things. And I'm like, man, all that shit you'd read back
and also Canada. You had a Canada pop whatever for a while, and he was talking about separation. Dude, we're in deep talks of separation now with Alberta. 2 other provinces are following suit. Like, you're right, man. There's so many indicators right now that are telling us, okay, we're in it.
You could throw a dart and hit you could hit several with one dart. That's happening right now. And honestly, it's crazy.
Exactly. Okay, there's a comment in the chat. I want to bring it up. So, Wendell, welcome back. Well done. Thank you for being here. Man, this guy's been around for a long time on your channel, Bix's channel, my channel. He says, I remember the good old days with Sean and GT Report and Chris Duane. Okay. Chris Duane had said something prolific way back when, and I think I brought it back to you guys or the Three Amigos chat a couple of years ago. And I said he had said something to the kid that, oh yeah, all you guys, like, you're getting into crypto. It's like having a cute, sexy little girlfriend, but at the end of the day, you'll come back to your wife, gold and silver, or words to that effect. And we were like, what the fuck's he talking about? Well, right now, people are wondering what the hell is happening with crypto. Crypto also took a dump, and we always thought that when we would get to this part, and when I say this part loosely, I'll say we're looking at a change happening around the planet on financial fronts everywhere. So we're getting into this multipolar world situation. But from all viewpoints, I think you guys will agree with me in the last 10 years, we all thought that we would get there first with crypto leading the way. And right now, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing silver and gold lead the way. Let me ask you first, Bix. First of all, do you agree with that premise that we thought maybe crypto would be leading and then gold and silver would catch up behind? That was in the Webbot data reports also. And why perhaps that's not playing out the way it is or that we thought it would be? Bix.
A few thoughts on that. The thing that worried me about crypto, and don't get me wrong, I love crypto. I still love crypto. Not all of it, but I love parts of it. But the thing that really started to get to me was when the pedo cabal kind of took hold of the Bitcoin core developers. And yeah, I know that, developers couldn't do much, and they really haven't done much, but they've done enough. But knowing that the pedo cabal was in there, knowing that they were in Tether, obviously, and knowing that digital currency group, which is knee deep in the pedo cabal, owned about half of all cryptos, I knew that would be a problem one day. And I think that day is here. I think Trump will be trying to take out the pedo cabal with and I think that's part of why cryptos are becoming so entwined with our classic banking system, our classic global monetary system, which is literally on the brink of collapse. Mm-hmm. So if we have a derivative, for example, if crypto stayed separate and we had a collapse in the global financial system because of the derivatives and all that, and crypto was the last man standing, you'd have the pedo cabal in charge of the money. And the good guys didn't want that. So I think they're kind of intertwining them within the currency system such that when Jamie Dimon goes down or and all that's hitting now with Epstein was deep into the cryptos. Absolutely 100%. He was deep into the monetary system. Mm-hmm. He was JP Morgan's largest deal getter. I mean, this guy was his little grubby fingers were in everything. But I think when we do have this takedown of the cabal, it will be a global wipeout of the monetary system, as well as the cryptos will go down, and many of them won't even come back. Right. And we kind of saw this before, although it was an artificial takedown. I mean, Trump took down the cryptos in 2017. Yeah. And even the head of the CFTC,
Giancarlo
said, we decided to introduce derivatives to Bitcoin because otherwise you couldn't bet against it. And we allowed it to happen, and we popped the Bitcoin bubble, is what he said, along with doing other things. And they sold off a lot of the Mt. Gox Bitcoin. So it's multifaceted. What I'm excited about is, one, I do think cryptos are in our future. You just got to pick the right ones. And there's some good ones, and there's the monetary ones are going to be tough. The DeFi stuff because of the Reggie Middleton patent.
Right.
And not just one patent. I think he's got 2 in the US, 3 in Japan, and 1 in Europe now. So there's something going on there. But I do think that there's going to be a massive takedown. This is all going to happen before this day, the 250 anniversary of the US. Trump wants to be celebration time by then. So I think it's happening right now.
Yeah.
And so
you think there's a cleaning of the swamp happening in crypto, or a presetting of the stage also as all of this is happening, because we don't want whoever was in control of the old system to reboot in crypto without having any guardrails from Right.
Yeah, and that's why we're seeing all this Epstein stuff now, and even we're getting kind of the Pizzagate stuff is coming back.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, most of us got kicked off YouTube because of talking about Pizzagate, but it was a real thing, people. It was absolutely 100% real.
And by the way, I give you credit also. You've done many videos with Jenny Moonstone, Constantine, where she was saying, hey, when we get to these big prices in silver, we'll know we're there when all the Epstein stuff is coming out.
That was
saying that years ago.
Jenny did 3 years ago. I'm saying, what are you talking about?
Right. How does
Silver
that
and the pedo cabal, they have nothing to do with each other. And then here we are. They are linked hand in hand through JP Morgan Chase's board of directors. There's about 20 people at JP Morgan Chase who are 100% not only handing Epstein money, but doing deals with him, building businesses with him, doing the island stuff and all that bullshit, insane world we live in. Yeah. They are absolutely linked hand in hand. And it is happening right now, just as Jenny said years ago. I tried to get it
just to add to the Epstein thing, you had his Zorro account, his Zorro ranch receiving this Powerball $1 million win on this.
He won the lottery on the day.
Clearly, the government was paying him to do something through the Powerball, in my humble opinion. And then in the emails that are coming out too, he's saying, "Oh yeah, send the money to this ball account, like just BALL, BAAL, sorry." Anyways.
AHL.
Yeah, there's a lot of craziness. And of course, the Epstein, the biggest dump we've had so far, we've had rhetoric for years, but the biggest dump we had so far was this Friday, the day that silver went down 30% and gold the same thing. So crazy times. Joe, let me ask you, let's look at this from the other angle too. We saw Trump talk about, as you said, the income tax last year being changed, and we're seeing that he keeps repeating it, and he's repeating it more and more. We're getting closer to that point. But he also talked about having a crypto strategic reserve and being the innovation hub of the world in crypto. And in that, he had produced his idea of the Genius Act. And inside the Genius Act, during the campaign, the whole campaign was talking about banning CBDCs. They were trying to quell some of the distrust that a lot of our communities have about central bank issued digital currency and how those could be used to further enslave the population to where we would exchange the old boss for a new boss, which was worse than the old boss. Mm-hmm. And at first that sounded like great. Okay, he won, he got into the office. And then suddenly Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, I'm not voting for this Genius Act. You guys didn't ban the CBDCs yet. So she raised the ruckus. And a lot of people gave us flack here. Oh, don't worry, JC. The white hats have it all. Just, stop complaining. Don't ask hard questions. I'm like, no. We have to look under the hood here before we accept any solutions being brought forward. Anyways, Marjorie was leading the way on that. Catherine Austin Fitts was leading the way on that. And I applauded that movement. And then so we kind of had a redirect of the Genius Act to where now these stable coins could also be a backdoor CBDC. So we're not sure where all of this, the infrastructure is growing. A bunch of billions of dollars have been put into this, and we're not sure yet where this is going. Is that, to BIX's point, to kind of quash the old pedo cabal in the cryptos and kind of take them out of the market? Or is that a whole other system competing again to create dominance here in this brand new multipolar world? What do you make of this Genius Act? Where do we go with all of this?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know he's certainly pro crypto. Trump is definitely pro crypto. It's hard to say. It could be that. It very well could be that, where they're just trying to, take out the bad guys and get them out of the way. But at the same time, maybe it's not. I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, interestingly enough, too, I think I have it on my deck somewhere, but I saw that Tether was also now leasing these old Switzerland bunkers to back it by gold. So what's that? Is that a red herring, Bix? You're nodding your head. Is that real? Like, again,
talk about the heart of the pedo cabal. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tether started by Brock Pierce back in the day. And I mean, that it's drips pedo cabal. Yeah, and they didn't have the cryptos, they didn't have the dollars in the early days. They just create Tether out of thin air, and they finally did an audit, and it was like a ridiculous audit. The same day that they closed the the ICO for EOS, which is another pedo coin. They raised $3 billion, and that day was the day they did the audit, and it was just some government lackey went in there and says, yes, Tether has $3 billion in cash. I verify it. It was the exact day that the pedo cabal ended the ICO for EOS. I mean, there's so much has gone on. It's exhausting, truthfully. There's more legitimacy now in the stable coins, and whether or not they'll survive, I don't think they'll survive. If the banks don't survive, they're not going to survive. And I don't think the banks are going to survive. And the only way to get us out of this problem, and you know what the problem really is not necessarily that our money is debt, which it is. The biggest problem is they own 99% of it. They had 14 computers at the government printing as much as they want. How much did they print? How many trillions and quadrillions did they print? Elon left as soon as he found those 14 computers.
And by the way, this was tinfoil hat conspiracy theory land for years. We've been talking about this, suspecting that was happening, and yet here it is, and no mainstream media touched it. Oh, a little bit. Bloomberg kind of gave us the ticker tape, but nobody really talked about it.
And nobody's talking about where to go. Is this where the Somalis are getting their money, or how much did Joe Biden give Hunter Biden? From those computers, is it $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion?
Well, and remember Cliff High about the data. This is recent data, it was at least a year ago, where he talked about. He's like, oh, I think he was emailing us. He's like, yeah, there's this data in here that's like, we're gonna find magnitudes like into the hundreds of this is how much officially money is out there, US dollars, that we claimed we've printed, and here's the truth. And it's somewhere between 100 and 500 times the amount that we were told.
Yeah.
Absolute destruction of the dollar.
Yeah. Well, let's get on that in just a second, because Trump was asked last week what he thought about the dollar. And at that point, it was down quite a few on the DXY, the DXC. And he says, the dollar's doing great. I'm happy with it. And of course, he's talking about it from a standpoint of bringing back manufacturing and being able to sell products cheaply to the rest of the world. But conversely, that also means that if the dollar's cheaper, most Americans are going to have to pay a lot more for stuff coming in from everywhere around the world. So people were kind of like confused by that statement, whether it was good or bad. But I'll get to that in just a moment. Here, Jerome Powell was asked about gold the other day. But, man, we don't really care about gold.
He doesn't.
Like Bernanke. Remember Bernanke?
Oh, yeah. It's just tradition.
Why do you guys store it? It's just tradition.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just tradition. So here he is. He's like, yeah, we don't really look at gold. Like, no, that's not a counter indicator to where the dollar is.
I don't think they care. I don't think they care. I think they have so much gold in the wings, they don't care.
Well, we can get to that in a moment, and I'm with you on that. But this one was the kicker. He just told you that the Treasury deals with the dollar. Mm-hmm. I thought the Fed was the issuer of the Federal Reserve note. So this brings us into another conspiracy land that has not yet been officially proven. Are we close to a new Treasury dollar? Joe, let me start with you. That was also in the WebBot data reports. Cliff said that there would be a new constitutional dollar being issued here, and that it would run parallel with the FERN, the Federal Reserve note. Is that what Paolo was just alluding to? How close are we to that? Did you see anything else there in your latest review of those old WebBot data?
No, I didn't see anything new on that front, but I just remember as you're saying that, I was like, oh, your dream about that new $50 bill. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. And in that dream, I was holding a new $50 bill. I knew it was like, I'm in America. I'm an American. This is this new 50. I'm staring at this thing. And it looks like you would expect a $50 bill to look like. But it looked a little different, had some security features in there. And I'm looking for the words United States of America, and I can't find it. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, either it's tiny and I just didn't spend enough time finding it, or it's not on here. And then I woke up. So, again, going back to the 100 to 500 times amount of dollars we've printed, all this shit comes out. We have to have a North American currency. Right. I think that's where this goes, where we have Canada, U.S., Mexico, because I don't think the world's going to be like, oh, let's let America create another dollar that they printed 100 to 500 times, whatever amounts of, and we'll just trust them this time.
They need they need a rebranding effort.
Yeah, we need a rebranding, and we need some friends involved. You know, we're the ugly chick, and we need a couple of cute chicks with us.
Yeah. We need those Canadians to keep us honest.
Yeah.
A comment in the chat, JC Judd, BIX, awesome blokes. Thanks for keeping us sane since 2020 for me. Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Andy. Going back to you, BIX, on this Trump statement on the dollar. That too was something that was in the WebBot data, and it was also in the remote viewers. At a certain point, there was this death of the dollar reading. We had the puking congressman, a transfer of power. Are we still on that same timeline? Something, maybe not. Something people say, yeah, we're just on the edge of it now. Clearly, if we're going to have this new North American economic and defense zone, maybe the United States itself doesn't exist the way it was in the past, and that's what the remote viewers were seeing. It definitely looks that way for Canada. Surely looks that way for Greenland. What do you make of this? Is it just a strategy here for manufacturing, or is there more here to breaking this dollar, and why Trump is kind of maybe half gaslighting us on this one? What do you think is happening?
Of course he's gaslighting. I mean, yes, we control the U.S. dollar with derivatives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the FX market is the largest derivative market on the planet, and United States controls 99% of the trades. It's the same thing as with silver. We could put the price of silver to minus $40 or $1 million with the click of a mouse. We could do the same thing with the dollar, the yuan, every single currency on the planet. We control it. The Treasury controls it. That's what Jerome Powell was talking about. The Treasury can click a mouse and put the U.S. dollar anywhere they want. And that's all part of the Road to Ruta stuff. Going back to when I found those Road to Ruta documents, when they were, at the Fed, that on January 1st, 2007, and there's this little girl writing this formula in the sand, and it's called On the Road to the Golden Age. And in that theory, in that economic formula from the 60s, it's how do you get back to a gold standard? When you're off a gold standard, how do you get back to a gold standard? You print money to infinity. And that was the idea. And it was always the plan. And that was always been what they're doing. Who says that China is printing just so many yuan, or the U.S. is just printing just so? You're believing a government who's already proven to be liars. Mm-hmm. So the reality of fiat money is going to, the ability to change for new fiat money is going to die when this system dies. And it'll be a derivative collapse and all that we've talked about. And that's when I have always known in my gut that there can't be any deciders. You remember Cliff said there'd be like 3 attempts to save the dollar and they'd all fail.
Yeah.
Once this thing falls apart, it's going to be Jerome Powell. It's going to be Bassett. It'll be Trump. It'll be the World Bank. Those are the people we're going to blame. We're not going to turn to them to say, oh my God, you monetary masters, you screwed up really bad. I've lost everything in my account. And I'm going to go to you and say, how are you going to fix this? No, we're not, especially in the United States. We're going to say, fuck you. We have a constitution we can go back to. We can go back to gold and silver as money, period. Right. And we have a constitution that says we can use whatever we want as citizens as money. We can use cryptos. We can barter. We can do whatever we want, because those leaders that have controlled us will be no longer in control. When they ultimately kill this baby that they built, it's the derivative bubble is probably $3 quadrillion big. Nobody really knows how big it is. In 2008, we're 2 hours away from the whole thing ending, stopping. No more checking account, no more savings account, no stocks, no bonds, no nothing. And they saved it by giving the banks a couple $1 trillion. And they leveraged it up to 20 trillion. This time it'll take 50 trillion, and nobody's gonna even go into Congress anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's when Congress is puking on themselves, because there will be no Congress.
So are you suggesting that what he's leading at here is a first domino to this? Because at the same time as this is happening, and again, also on Thursday, this big crash on silver, we had this guy being appointed, Kevin Warsh, as the new Fed chair, which we could talk about. Apparently here is in the Epstein files also. And at the same time as that was happening, this guy across the world was saying that he wants China to be the new reserve currency.
He doesn't.
I don't think he does.
No.
But I think the BRICS somehow with the new BRICS unit. And now there's rumors, and there's somebody in the chat asking this today too, because I saw another video this afternoon. Somebody was suggesting that perhaps the BRICS would include this. This is not the right question. We'll get to that one also. But the BRICS would include some type of silverback also. So they would have.
Well,
Go ahead.
These are the currencies that fail. When you lose confidence, the only reason to back a currency is you're losing confidence in the currency.
Right.
If you're losing confidence in the currency, you're not going to go to the currency and say, hey, just pretend you have something back there. Or, none of it is redeemable. These back currencies they're talking about, none of it is redeemable. Not one. They're talking about China having a certain amount allocated to a currency or some bullshit like that.
This last video, you may have not saw. I saw it earlier today. Somebody was suggesting that they're on the verge of announcing. So this is still unfounded rumors. Some tokenized 1-to-1 redeemable silver tokens and gold tokens.
Who?
China.
China doesn't have the silver.
Yeah.
They don't.
That they had tasked their banks and their bankers to put that in place and to get a strategic reserve of 200 million ounces of silver and 100 million ounces of gold or something like that.
They might be able to do it with gold, but they wouldn't give it to foreigners. I mean, I think the U.S. is going to just have an internal gold-backed dollar,
right?
But not exportable. That's in the road to ruin documents. They export and import ends,
right,
with the crash of the system, the monetary system. So, I mean, you can try all you want, but people understand that when they lose their checking account or have to be they give them a haircut, when their bank fails and shit like that, that's coming. There's some banks that are ready to go down very soon. I think there's a big
one just went down Thursday and nobody talked about it. Like, what the hell?
A small one.
And
nobody lost any money.
Okay.
But because it's small.
Right.
But I think from my discussions with Jenny about silver and who's going to be, struggling, it's B of A is what she came up with, which makes sense. They borrowed
also here in Canada, apparently.
Yeah, they borrowed 1.2 billion ounces of silver from JP Morgan Chase on a lease.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have to pay it back. And they don't have the silver.
Right.
And then JP Morgan has other deals that silver is supposed to probably SLV. So I think SLV will default. And once it starts, I don't think you're going to see a cascade of events. I think it's going to be an instant type of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the day they announced that show picture of Epstein and Jamie Dimon and the board of directors of JP Morgan Chase at the pool in St. Bart's or wherever his island is, all naked, and poof, goodbye, largest bank in the world, is over.
Right. Let me ask you this. So we've done a good job here kind of telling the audience how we got to here from the manipulation to all the crap, and now the two worlds of silver, the paper and the physical, and the battle royale that we're seeing unfold now. Now, the states, of course, know about this. There's a road to Ruta theory. There was a plan. There's been a plan maybe for 100 years to deal with this, but suddenly they are implementing either new pieces of that plan that we didn't know about, or they're enlarging the scope of that strategy. Trump wrote an executive order, a presidential declaration on precious minerals early in January. And tomorrow, this is going to be hosted by Marco Rubio, and the Vice President, J.D. Vance, is going to attend this United States Critical Minerals Congress. This seems to be, again, beyond the heels of all the critical stuff that's happening, the fact that China's closed their doors also, and that Trump is now trying to secure a better supply chain, I guess, for strategic critical minerals, silver now being one of them. We know that about a month ago, the Pentagon, JP Morgan, and the Department of Defense all together put in $7.2 billion for this new refinery here in the United States. So clearly they're seeing this as a big requirement for sovereignty and for security moving forward. What does that say for the prices right now with this big disconnect between, there's about a 20% premium right now in China's physical versus what's being presented to us here on the COMEX? What's the government up to here with this conference coming tomorrow? Here, 50 or so participants around the world coming to this. They're rejigging the supply chain here, and somebody's making contracts, and perhaps that's why they needed to crash the price before the meeting also. What do you make of this one, BIX?
it's kind of after the crash type of stuff that they're working on, because the crash is coming, and Trump wants it fast. The good guys want it to happen. They missed their opportunity back when Trump was president the first time. I thought they were going to do it when they busted JP Morgan, because they came out and said, we're going to bust you for RICO charges in rigging the silver market, which means JP Morgan would have to pay 3 times the amount of silver. So it'd be 3 billion ounces of silver they would have had to give back to the government. I thought they were going to do it, and they didn't. And then we had this crazy thing, whether or not Biden was president or not, I don't know. I doubt it. So maybe we had military rule during that. Now Trump's president again. He's not going to miss this opportunity. I mean, we've been waiting to do this. The good guys have been waiting at least since Kennedy was taken out, but really since 1913, since the creation of the Fed. Howard Buffett was on the floor of Congress screaming how we have to get back to a gold standard. And in 1980, when they had the gold commission, they said, oh my God, yeah, we're going to have to get back to a gold standard. But if we can balance our budget, we can still run this thing. And we know what happens to the budget since 1980. So, I mean, it's not like it's going to be a surprise. I think the United States has like 100 times more gold than they tell people they have. Yeah. They've been hiding it in the national parks all over the place. Every time they find oil or gold or silver, they stick a military base right on top of it, or a national park. The biggest being for gold in the Grand Canyon, massive amounts of gold in the Grand Canyon. And when will it come out? When we need it. And it'll be there and it'll be ready. I believe it'll be ready. And there's signs, like, look at the $100 bill. There's gold all over that $100 bill. And it says right above the 100, it says, you have the right to overthrow your government, from the Declaration of Independence, right above it. And it's written in gold. And then you flip it over, there's a big gold piece. It's they're screaming at us that it's time for the change, but we'll see. I mean, I've been saying this for a while and it hasn't happened. We're closer and closer. We've never been closer to the freedom of silver than we are right now.
Right.
And the world is just, I think this minerals meeting is all about after the crash, and that crash is coming fast.
Right. Let me ask you, Joe, also. BIX just said that
dress.
BIX just told us that they're screaming at us with the $100 bills and the gold connotations. Trump was screaming at us here, of course, on New Year's Eve, coming out to the Hi Ho Silver song, Melania wearing her silver dress.
She looked hot, too. Ooh.
Yeah, she always has.
And she was smiling the whole time, though. Did you notice that?
What's that?
She was smiling the whole time. She never smiles that much.
Yeah,
she was just ear to ear grinning in her silver dress, like laughing and mocking the banking cabal.
Comms over comms in this particular video, with the song on top of that, like Hi Ho Silver, all that stuff. Absolutely crazy. So, Joe, let's get into the segment here. I want to get your guys' thoughts on maybe the playbook on how this continues to roll out. So, Joe, you have the opportunity here to either bring back some of the WebBot data items that could suggest a path forward here, bringing your analysis here of where you're seeing why the governments are acting the way they are right now. Where are we, let's say, by March, and where are we by what's on BIX's hat there? Because what's on BIX's hat here, if you go back a year, Andy Scheckman had interviewed, what's her name? The gold bug, the lady? Judy Shelton. And they had talked about this idea of having this gold back bond or something by this specific date this year. Maybe, maybe not. But what do you see here, Joe, as a play out to where this goes from here?
Well, I'm going to go back to that dream that I thought was, I don't know which April. I just heard April. They're going to crash the market. And the lady was so devastated. I thought she lost a child. And I stopped to ask her what was wrong because she was so distraught. And she looked up at me and said, they're going to crash the market in April. Didn't say which market or markets, crypto, everything, maybe everything. And that's what I thought. It's probably gonna be everything. Mm-hmm. And just the devastation, I got, holy shit. So I thought, well, it's January when I got the dream of 3 years ago or whatever it was. So maybe it's not April. No. Next April. No. It might be this April because we are on the 250th anniversary and Trump does need to implement these things. It would be the perfect April to crash everything. And then, we got to fix this. And then he implements his plan, not the deep state plan. But you got to have an event so bad that everyone's basically begging you to fix this. Like their accounts being wiped out in the banking system and JP Morgan Chase going down, like Penny Kelly said she saw in her look-see. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I asked BIX about that because I thought I don't know. And he said, oh, they got $1 trillion+ in assets and stuff. But I don't know.
I didn't. I told her, yeah, they'd be the one to take down. If you want to take down everybody, you take down.
That would be the one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would definitely be the one. So I thought, maybe it's all going to happen. And that's the start of it, and I just remember Woo, dude, you're going to need cash on hand at some point. You're going to need crypto at some point. You're going to need gold and silver at some point, and not necessarily at the same time. And it's funny because you asked, I think BIX earlier, when you were talking with him, you'd asked him something, but you mentioned I think you said the old reports, Webbot reports said something about, I think the crypto would go first up and then silver and gold follow. But if you think about it, they did. I mean, Bitcoin got over $100,000.
Yeah.
And when you think crypto, that's the crypto of all. So it did actually go to that level. Then now it's crashed down some, and then we have silver and gold taking off. And of course, I did have a dream about Bitcoin being pretty destroyed from 100,000. It was way below 40,000. I'll just say that in my dream, way below that. Yeah. So if that's down and other things are down, the markets are down, all the markets are down, maybe the gold and silver market would be the only thing that maybe survived and maybe even thrived at that time, because everyone's fleeing all these other assets potentially. So, and maybe that's what brings silver to $200-300 like nothing. I mean, could you imagine we roll up into March, just again a month away, or deep into March, almost 2 months away, whatever, and we're at $200-300 silver like that fast? It's possible. I mean, shit, you've seen what it's done, and just since freaking December and stuff. It could be, but then again, 4th of July and all that stuff, I think we need to see arrests, we need to see indictments, we need to see all of this stuff happening, so that we can, like Bix said, when that 4th of July parade rolls around this time, because of the 250th anniversary, you're never going to forget this one.
Right.
But that's only, 4 months away, 5
It's got to happen.
It's gotta...
So we're on this fast train. It's already left the station, and
I think so.
Buckle up for the ride. Okay. That's your opinion. Bix, you think the same thing? Where do we go from here?
I think it's going to be a day in the next couple of months. It'll just happen in a day. Like on September 11th, 2008, when everything stopped on the financial side, your average Joe Schmo didn't know what was going on. Yeah. They would have known later when they went to their bank account to get a little bit of money out to have dinner, and there's no money in there. The largest problem in the world right now is not is debt. Everybody's in massive debt, and the United States will never pay off this debt. We don't even know how much debt we're in. Nobody ever pays off their debt. As a matter of fact, the system is rigged to make you go more into debt. Buy a house, leverage your house up, use the equity, buy stocks, buy bonds, and it's all debt. So when it does stop, and it will, I mean, all it takes is, Warren Buffett's weapon of mass financial destruction still sitting out there. And I think silver can kill it, because the banks, you see all this action in the price of silver going from $30 to $120 and back. The short position has not changed. It's 750 million ounces on the COMEX. That's short. It's still 750. It wobbles maybe 30-40 million ounces, but that's it. Mm-hmm. They can't get rid of it. So every dollar lost. I mean, we're probably looking at a bank was about to flop. That's why they had to slam it. And it would have been a big bank like Bank of America or JP Morgan or HSBC.
But the point is, that doesn't fix the silver deficit. It doesn't fix the fact that we're
it does.
It
does. It would destroy every bank on the planet. Because
No, sorry. What they did this last weekend doesn't fix the silver deficit. It just delays it maybe for a little bit. But the bank is still coming. Again. Yeah. Okay. We're on the same page.
Stick that can.
Yeah.
Here's Florida's implementing a new law effective July 1st, 2026 that establishes gold and silver as legal tender.
Yeah.
And speaking of the debt that you was just talking about, I was like, I'm going to look it up real quick. Household debt, right? So it hit the highest it's ever been in 2008. We all saw what happened in 2008. That was the crash.
Yeah.
The big housing bubble burst. And housing debt then was 10 trillion basically. Non-housing debt was 2.65 trillion. Now we have 13.5 trillion in housing debt and 5 trillion in non-housing debt. So nobody's it's not like anybody's saving anything. It's more debt, more debt, more debt. Did our country grow by leaps and bounds with all these newborn babies? We're not replacing the current population, right? Elon Musk talks about that. Like we're not looking good. So where's all these new people if that's where this is from? All these new houses have to be built and everything. Tampa, Florida is leading the nation in foreclosures. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this whole damn thing has to go down, man. It's the only way. Everything has to reset. You can't have these prices the way they are for everything. Like,
but yeah, when Trump comes out. Let me ask you this, because we're being told again in the gaslighting stuff here. Trump was the other day. It's like, hey, we're back, baby. America's back. The S&P 500 just hit 7,000. Yeah, yep. When you compare it to gold, it's not doing so well. That's the issue. Okay, where do I go from here? Oh, okay, so a couple of things. There was a question in the chat earlier. I need to go back to it. So I saw a video yesterday or today. Again, wishy-washy, the referencing the Asian guy. You and I have talked about this, Bix, Joe. I've talked about this in detail with Andy as well. There's more positive than negative in these
Which
videos.
Asian guy? There's like 30 of them now.
But he says he's all the same, and now he's saying they're not all the same. So I don't know. If you look at Cliff High's latest stuff, he thinks that the Asian guy in this whole fucking thing is a psyop from the same fucking ring at the Pentagon as the Q guys were. So we're being treated to something, a big playbook. Some of it is real. Some of it might not be real. Some of it is for the enemies as well. So there's comms all over the place. So you need to navigate this very carefully. In this particular video, yesterday, I think it was, they're suggesting that on February 15, a new law came into effect or will come into effect with reporting, much more reporting now, who sells silver, where it goes, and all that stuff. I haven't seen that anywhere officially.
The links didn't work. The links
exactly.
that didn't work. So it was like
exactly. So there's a couple of things that he said so far that didn't work, including UBS having to close all their position, HSBC having to close all the position by the end of January. That doesn't seem to be what's happening. If indeed
it might have. I mean, it could have.
Hold on. If they're short positions, and the short positions, as you say now on their reports, are still the same, they haven't closed those positions.
Well, no, they can swap them out with anybody they want. They can swap them out with BlackRock, or it doesn't say who has the position. It just says that they're there. So there's a bank participation report that comes out on Friday that should have December or January in it, which will tell us more. The U.S. banks are net long now, supposedly. Right. If you believe,
supposedly since November, right? Yeah.
But the European banks are even more short.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happened in January as far as changing bank positions. But these guys, I mean, we've seen it a million times. They can, in one moment, they can have a massive short position, and in the next moment, send it over to Bank of America for the next day, so it doesn't look like they do. Right. So it is highly coordinated who has this hot potato at any given time. And then once in a while, they'll pull the trigger like they did with Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns was...
They have to sacrifice somebody at some point. Yeah.
And Jeffrey Epstein was at Bear Stearns, by the way.
And is it possible, if they did move out of their shorts by the end of the month, this could have caused some of the forced liquidation we saw last Friday, at least in part. There was also some manipulation there going on, very strategic as so. Is it possible that these shorts somehow are now all segregated and sold off to fucking pension plans around the world, and those are the guys that are going to eat this?
No, I don't think any of the pension managers would play on the short side of silver. It would have to be, well, we've been told that
could they be forced to do so? We've seen that in the past, to where these guys are making moves because on behalf
they don't need to. I mean, the exchange stabilization fund could take the hit. They could take all of it. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's just derivatives. It's when you talk about derivatives of silver, they're just derivatives. It's a game that they're playing, and we don't have the kind of the playbook and the back room information on who's got what, where, when, and why. But it's so important that they would never let it crash without everything going.
Right.
I would say silver is the number one most important, not only strategic asset on the planet, but the most important military asset on the planet, and has been for a very long time. And one of the things we kind of forget as silver bugs is that we're the only ones rooting for silver. The rest of humanity they want their cheap flat screen TVs and their electric cars and their solar panels. And you imagine what the Green New Deal people are going to do to us when silver's at $2,000 an ounce, and they're going to blame us. It's those damn silver stackers that are killing the world and global warming.
Just like they blame all the anti-vaxxers.
Exactly.
So everybody's life will change with expensive silver, because everybody will have to pay more for everything they own, because everything has silver in it.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things to think about when you're a stacker.
Another question I have for you. In the last 2-3 weeks, I've been fielding the same question on the show, on the viewer question show. Are we closer now to perhaps confiscation because of all of this? If the supply chain is as fragile as we're seeing now, if everybody's scrambling to stockpile silver ahead of time because they no longer believe in the just-in-time delivery, at what point does the heavy hand of government say, yeah, we're going to need your silver? Is this... Go ahead, Bix. Do you think that could happen in this world?
No, not. And it wouldn't do much for the government. There's not a lot of people own silver out there in the United States, especially.
No, but they could go after, for example, PSLV here. The spot.
Well, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's more likely is that they nationalize some of the big warehouses.
Yeah.
But they do it in a way that will give you a fair market value for it. That type of thing.
Right, but you still miss the run up in silver to unobtainium. You're left with now paper.
Well, right,
paper
yeah. If you don't have it in your own possession, you're bound to lose it one way or the other.
Right.
But the other thing, silver is a global market. If any country were to nationalize it or say, okay, let's just say Mexico gets half a brain and says we're going to stop exporting silver. We've exported a third of the silver every single year, and we're poor. Why don't we just keep all the silver? We'd have a third less silver in the world, and it would be worth, $10,000 an ounce, and we'd be the richest country in the world. Mm-hmm. I've been screaming that to Mexico. All my Mexican friends are like, can you imagine how many people, illegal immigrants, that would run back to Mexico if their friends and family were making so much money because of all the silver they have in the ground? I mean, there's so many problems that will be solved with just allowing the markets to work properly. Right. And we don't, and it's embarrassing for Trump and the good guys. Trump knows exactly what he's probably watching this right now. And he's the biggest rigger of them all. I mean, he's the best. He is the best rigger.
What are those guys saying? They're on to me. God damn it! Another question that's in the chat. Maybe you guys can chime in on this one. Tom A is asking, "What about tax on gains?" I thought that was interesting, and I've been fielding this question too. From my understanding, again, not financial advice, guys. When you convert your silver back into fiat, it's a taxable event, depending on your jurisdiction. But that's most likely the case. What's interesting, what we've seen also for crypto in the last 10 years, the governments, jurisdictions around the world, including here in Canada, would say that if you were to sell your crypto back into fiat, it was a taxable gain, where you are responsible to auto-declare your capital gains. And then here in Canada...
And swaps.
Well, yeah. In Canada, they haven't said that yet. So it was originally going back to fiat, but I think they're getting attuned to other jurisdictions who went as far as what you're saying. But my point is, now we're seeing a move kind of away from that. I've heard states suggest now, because they want to create these crypto strategic reserves, that they're encouraging you to pay your income tax in crypto and alleviating you of having to pay the capital gains tax on your crypto. So we're seeing that legislation now pop up around the world. Are we going to see that in gold and silver also as governments around the world start to look for stockpiles?
I don't think that they'll be survive. I mean, with no banks open, there's no cryptos trading. There's no crypto exchanges open.
Well, now I'm asking specifically for gold and silver. Would there be tax on your capital gains?
There'd be no tax. There'll be no IRS.
Okay.
I mean, you have to understand the full concept of a collapsing global monetary system. There's no IRS. You're not paying any tax. You got no debt. The United States would have no debt. So it is hard to get your head around a collapse of the fiat money system, which I think is coming with the derivative issue, is the only way out of the problem. But
so you don't think that there's any possibility to hear, even for a short period of time,
not if we want to be free,
of a softer landing where Trump says, okay, I'm not going to remove all of your income tax like he did with tips. You remember he says no tax on tips, and then it's like, okay, well, it's no tax on tips on this amount, but then there's still tax, right? Is he going to do the same thing with the income tax where it's still there in a year from now, or at least in portion? What's going on?
I hope not. I hope I hope that's not what he's thinking about. I hope that's not the biggest thing on his plate.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality of kicking the can down the road with the fiat money system, it's run its course, my friends. We've got the bad guys that own it all now. And if we want to lose everything, if we want to lose our country and lose our sovereignty and lose our freedom, yeah, let's just turn ourselves over to Dick Allgire's buddies and say, game over. You know, if you don't collapse this system and take that money away from them by destroying it, we lose. And there is no United States of America. You want to pay tax because there's no country.
Okay. Joe, what's you on the tax on gain stuff? Are you seeing that? You just mentioned in Florida right now.
I'm going back to the fraud being uncovered.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
People are going to say, I'm not paying this.
Yeah.
Like income taxes is due by April, huh? I'm personally curious to see what happens from right now and this last month even to April when it's tax time. What are we going to find happening in that window of time? And how many people are going to knowingly see it and go, let me make sure I pay my fair share of my taxes so we can give it to terrorists and traffickers and all these bad guys and the Democratic Party and people coming to our country illegally and using it against us. Like that. And that's why I don't think Trump's going to go, well, you got to pay a little bit of income tax. I think it's going away because people are going to, again, when all this comes out with the fraud, how bad it really is, no one in their right mind is going to be like, okay, I'll do that. I'll keep paying. They're going to be like, I'm so furious, I'm not paying anymore, but Trump's already got them covered. Don't worry about it. We got the export fee or the tariff fees coming in, which is why he had the External Revenue Service created rather than the Internal Revenue Service, because it's probably going to go away, like completely. I think so. And the same thing where he's like, hey, we're giving you, we don't want the education thing. We don't want it back to the states. Give it back to the states. We're giving power back to the people. That was his big thing.
Yeah.
And we don't have power if we're having to be paying fees and taxes and tax on top of tax on top of tax. Something that's already been taxed again every time you transfer it. Tax.
Yeah.
People are tired of it, and everyone's struggling. Who the hell is going to be paying capital? They're just, it's just gonna not. I just don't see it happening. Even
some would argue, I hear what you're saying, but some would argue, well, come on, why didn't he do that on the tax on tips? Why didn't he do that on tax on overtime? It was kind of a half-baked measures as to what he had proposed. So why didn't?
Yeah, he may have realized, okay, well, the numbers are a little too great
at the time
of a hit. So okay, because I have a bigger plan coming.
Yeah,
and I can only do this for now. Okay, let's wait for my bigger plan to kick in.
I would guess that most people don't pay tax on their tips.
Well,
I mean, they're required.
I would assume same.
In a certain way.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Require them to, but if you get cash, forget about it.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. Jane Nugent says, yeah, Joe's right. No one will pay the corrupt government anymore. Well, okay, Joe, let me ask you on that too. As you were revisiting some of those older WebBot data, Cliff also had that in there that at some point people would say, yeah, hell no, we ain't doing this. Does that fit into the 10-year delta that you were looking at? Where does that fit in some of the other reports, Joe?
I don't know when that would have been. It would have had to have been probably before some of that. So it's the weird thing is like just those particular crypto ones seem to have been around that time frame.
The bare naked wealth ones, you mean?
Yeah. So those ones. Yeah. Seem to be maybe the 10-year thing, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. As far as the timeline.
Okay. Joe, your best bet, $600 silver. Where do you see that this year? Do you see it this year? Based on where we're at now.
Yeah, pure speculation opinion. Everybody. So don't make any stupid moves based off of the words that are coming out of my mouth. But again, it's because it's that whole thing and July's coming up, 250. It could get crazy enough.
April.
That we see, and here's the thing: if the markets crash in April and everyone and their mother has nowhere left to go, crypto's destroyed, the other stock markets are destroyed, gold and silver aren't destroyed, and people with the money, or even if it is destroyed, maybe people are just going to realize I want my money there.
Yeah,
and you can't have that many people deciding all at the same time that one asset class. That's where I'm going. Well, that would cause the price to go to $600.
So I'll ask Mike the same question here for just a moment. I would tend to concur with you also, and I would add another WebBot data thing. It was the word unobtainium. Years ago, to use unobtainium in the same phrase with silver was just tinfoil hattery. Like, come on, it's pie in the sky. It never happens. Well, we've seen that in the last couple of weeks here where dealers were saying, hey, unobtainable. We're closing for the weekend. We don't have supply to replenish. The mints are shutting down, or they're giving us this 4-6 week delay, blah, blah, blah. So we're already seeing the beginnings of the word unobtainium come into our realm here as it pertains to silver. So makes the same question to you. That $600 silver. Where are we on the timeline? Best guess?
My best guess was, I think it was July of 1999 is when I last predicted $600 silver. I think I got that wrong. Dude.
By that much.
I missed it by that much. It should have been well over $600 at that time. Silver's been price suppressed for 180 years. The moment it's not, it's well above 600. That's where it hits unobtainium. We won't know the price of silver. So if we do have the monetary collapse, we won't know the price of silver. No exchanges will be open. Right. And what would we exchange it for? And why are we even saying $600 silver if there's no $600 anywhere?
Well, and on top of that, like I was mentioning in the report that guy did for me from Cliff's data, in there he had highlighted it says don't worry about the spot price or the paper price because it's going to say one thing. But to actually get your hands on it, there's a secondary market that doesn't even look at that.
Mm-hmm.
I have it, and this is what I think I want for it.
Right.
Yeah, but
that was true already for the last 2 weeks in China. We had the 20, 30.
There was a pretty big,
yeah. It's here too, though. I mean, even the dealers I deal with around here, it's like they didn't even know what to price it at. And one of them just shut down and said, I don't even know if I'm selling it for cheap or who knows what's going to open up on Monday. I'm just going to shut down for the weekend. And figured out once things settle out, I don't think we're going to see anything settling. I think we're going to see 35% up days, 35% down days, 100% up days. Crazy shit's going to go on, and I don't know. This is why you have physical. This is why we've been screaming for so long. It's down to physical. What do you got in your possession as far as cryptos and as far as gold and silver? Now, gold. If you have any gold. God bless you for holding on to it. It's beautiful.
I got a little bit.
It's shiny.
Tiny bit.
You can get so many ounces of silver for that gold. And if you love gold, swap your silver now. And then when gold and silver go 1-to-1, you can swap it back.
Are you good for 5 more minutes? I have 2 more questions for you guys. Do you have time? Joe, you too? Okay. On that note, so Asian guy and some other researchers, David Morgan also, I've interviewed him a couple of times on silver. And he said at a certain point here, people are going to want to swap back into gold, and there were specific parameters as to the gold to silver ratio on when best to do that. There was a strategy, and it's evolved over time. People were talking about, when it gets to 30 GSR, then when it gets to 20 again, swap a little back. Where are you on that right now, swapping silver back into gold here? And what are some of those benchmarks you would be looking for, BIX?
Well, it's simple for me. Because I know who started the rigging programs. It was Alan Greenspan in the 70s. So anything past the 70s, it wasn't free market trading. It really wasn't free market trading before that either because of the governments determined the gold-silver ratio. So I've studied this for the past, I went back 4,000 years. And what 99% of the time when they determine the gold-silver ratio, it's the above-ground availability of the metal as money. And so if we have 6 billion ounces of silver and 6 billion ounces of gold, that's a 1-to-1 ratio. I think the absolutely insane suppression of silver has gotten us out of the understanding that silver might even be a hell of a lot more valuable than gold. Yeah. And I think there's a hell of a lot more gold. So all this stuff is changing. The only reason we went to 120-to-1 gold silver ratio was the computer programs. Right. The only reason David Morgan's saying, at 35-to-1 is because of the computer programs, because that's what it was in 1980, or actually, I think it went to 15 in 1980. Yeah. But in 2011, that's what it went to. David has to get his mind around the fact that these prices, especially in silver, have been rigged 100%. So the gold-silver ratio will not stop. If it was freely traded today, it should be about 1-to-1. And then when we understand this a hell of a lot more.
So technically, you're a contrarian. You don't want to swap your silver to gold. You want to ride the wave of silver to the end of it.
No, I want to ride silver until it's freely traded.
Right.
And it hasn't been for 180 years. But I think that number, and I've said this many times, it will overshoot 1-to-1. It should be 1-to-1 because there's about 6 billion of each on the official numbers.
Right.
But I know in my heart that there's a hell of a lot more gold, like 10 times as much gold as they're telling you. So
but then if that's the case, the idea of
we
switching
stick
back to
1 to 10.
gold is kind of futile at this point. You're much better with the.
Well, at some
Right.
point, we'll know how much gold there is, and we'll know how much silver is, especially if we
And
turn.
then you can make that decision in the
It's like we know Bitcoin. There's 21 million Bitcoin that could ever be mined.
Right.
We don't know gold. The gold bugs never answer that question well.
Right.
And
Right.
I've shown so many. There's so much data and studies and books written and in congressional hearings that there's 10 times as much gold as they're saying.
Yeah.
And my GATA friends just refuse to open their eyes and read a couple reports or look at the data or go into the Grand Canyon and see what they were doing there. It's crazy.
We're going to be shocked with all of this reality. Joe, on that question first, and then my last question, do you want to chime in on this? Are you planning on at some point converting some of your silver back into gold? That's not your play at all?
I have a tiny amount of gold as it is, very little.
Okay.
And then all my stack was silver. I mean, for the most part, like probably 98% silver, 2% gold, or something ridiculous, maybe 1% gold.
Okay.
I have no need to switch it out. And to be fair, it doesn't matter which one you own, you're going to do fine. But I've always had this thing for silver because that was the one they wanted to attack the most. It was the easier one to afford. So I'm like, well, while they're destroying the price, they're kind of doing me a favor and allowing me to get this now cheaper. So I could be pissed off about it, but also I could also take advantage of it. So I think I'd rather take advantage of it and then laugh later.
Like silver at cheap levels, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
so as matters, you have the ounces. That was your answer. That leads me to the final question here. In the last 2 weeks, as frustrating as it is, but I understand it. There's a lot of new viewers who are just waking up to all of this, and they're looking at all these crazy price fluctuations they saw last Friday. And they haven't made yet their first position in gold and silver. And they're asking me for the best timing to get their position. And my answer is, fuck yesterday. Because here's the thing. We don't know when we get to no bid, no offer. We could be close to that. If you don't have a position now, don't try to time it. You need to get it. Well,
but you're going to have volatility. There'll be drops.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever it is, that's your time to probably grab some.
So should they try to time, or should you just try to get in while they can still get it? That's the issue.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking now, like, yeah, you just need to probably go ahead and get some. But
yeah,
again, the paper price can show, like I saw $6, but that doesn't mean you could go get it for $6.
Yeah.
Just like when a barrel of oil crashed negative, you couldn't go to the gas station to get free gas, did you?
Mm.
You know, gas stations weren't selling it for free. You still had to pay the damn same price you were paying the day before.
So I was trying to get in on Friday on the dip, and the dealer was just saying, "Oh, call back Monday, call back Monday." They weren't taking orders, so it's kind of like, well, there you go.
That's almost an unforeseen thing to the average person, because you're gonna think, I'll just at any time I can just go buy it. I'll go to the store and buy it. Mm-hmm. But because of things getting crazy, they're gonna be like, no, we're gonna wait till Monday. The next thing you know, they made $5 more an ounce.
Yeah. And that they've implemented purchase minimums also. We've seen that creep up in the last month or so. And we've seen banks here, at least in Canada, refuse wire transfers to the
bullion dealers.
For the bullion dealers also. So that's great.
Shocker.
Yeah, shocker. Quelle surprise. Imagine that. Big same question to you here. Timing of entry, if you're not already into positions, what do you say to people? What's the best advice?
I think the best advice is to think of silver as it is it is an asset that, what do they call it? Now, I had the word right in my...
Strategic?
No, it's...
Inelastic?
Yes, it's inelastic, meaning that it doesn't matter what the price is, they're still going to use massive amounts of it. For example, let's just say the price of silver goes to $2,000 an ounce. In a normal supply-demand world, it's like, oh, my God, that's too expensive. I'm not going to buy it. Well, you put 2 ounces in an electric car, you sell the electric car for $50,000. You'll have to sell the electric car for $54,000 is not going to stop you from making the electric car. And your cell phone has 1/10 of an ounce of silver in it. Are you going to stop buying cell phones because the price went up a couple $100 because silver went up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000? No. So it doesn't matter really what the price is. And the bankers know that. That's why they rig the price so low. And it is literally used in everything electronic that you have. Out of all the assets on the planet, and a lot of people don't call silver an asset, they call it just a piece of metal. Of all the pieces of metal on the planet, the most dispersed is silver in little bits. You're going to be, I'll guarantee you, your kids will be going through junkyards trying to find old watch batteries that had a little bit of silver in it and bringing it to the recycler. Recycling is going to be huge in the future for silver because they're just not, at least that we know of. Now, there might be national parks with these massive silver mines in the U.S. I think Alaska has massive amounts of silver.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to what gold has. But we are going into a different world now. And the world we're leaving is the world of we've had a babysitter taking care of us. And no matter how vile this babysitter was, it did take care of us. We've learned to adapt and live in that world. We're leaving that world going into taking care of ourselves. And that's some scary shit because we're not going to have money. We're going to have to figure out how to move forward on our own.
Yeah.
And as a country, as a community, as an individual.
Humanity, we have to grow up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the U.S. has a lot of this already planned out. I mean, we've had over 100 years. And I know people in government who have been part of the planning thing. And they said, well, just nobody's ready to press that button, as Catherine Austin Fitz likes to say. Who's going to press the button? If it's not Trump, it's going to be nobody. And then we lose our country. So it's going to be Trump. And I think it's going to be before the 4th. If you want a month, I was snippy April.
Okay. We'll do another show in April. Hey, guys, first of all, a big thank you again to you both, BIX and Joe. You guys were instrumental in me getting my head around this over a decade ago and having the fortitude of knowing because of researching with you guys and hearing what you had to say so that I can make the moves to protect my friends and my family. So for the people who are just coming up on this now, they're looking at this video tonight, they want to get more, they want to understand more of what you guys are talking about. Joe, you first, what do you have for them here on your Patreon at Realist News, Jason 4?
Yeah, just the standard woo-woo, creating woo-woo, standard $20 plan. Sometimes I'll post my dreams in there if they're like interesting or, if I get something cool, like, oh, I got to talk about this, or me and woo-woo do it on their live streams coming up, questions, answer sessions in there. I'll sometimes post in there like, hey, give me some questions you want me to ask woo-woo dude, things like that. And then sometimes I'll find interesting things that may not necessarily be woo or normal stuff. I'm like, oh, I need to post this, over there. Just a little tight-knit community. Had that since I think 2018 now. Halfway through 2018 I started that, so it's going on like 8 years now or so. So yep, still running strong.
And for people who want to get into crypto also, you have some basic stuff, the community.
Yeah, we've got basic.
And you also have a higher package for people who want a little bit more hand holding to get into crypto.
Yeah, I just had a guy actually who was like wanting to chat with me about some things. Yeah. And about his dad's, something about his dad's health and him wanting to move out of the country, and he was wanting to run some things by me, not necessarily crypto. And I was like, well, he's a $40 plan. Yeah, I'll have a conversation with him. So we were a nice little conversation. But yeah, if you need a little extra, I have that plan too.
All right. Well, guys, if you want to try before you buy, of course, go check out JustNip42 here on his YouTube, including this last video about the WebBot data predictions and how they appear to be in this 10-year delta where things are dropping here very fast. Go check him out there on YouTube. And, of course, you can find him also on his Patreon. BIX, for you also, what's coming up here on your roadtoruta.com? Any new interviews you want to talk about? Any latest ones here also with Jenny Moonstone that could be predicting some really crazy stuff here coming up? What do you have for the audience here at roadtoruta.com?
Well, I got the website, the public road and private road. Jenny's stuff is mostly on the private road. We get into some deep shit. They kicked me off YouTube. I'm like the last guy I know with his original YouTube channel from back in our days, guys. Because I mainly just talk about silver on YouTube, but we talk about all kinds of stuff. roadtoruta.com or YouTube at roadtoruta.
All right. Any last words before we go? Let me start with you, Joe, and then BIX. And folks, please give these guys a like in the chat. Give them some good comments, and give us some questions. Also, if there's still some stuff that is confusing to you and you want to know more about all this, I'll do some follow-up shows. I have Andy coming back as well, and I think David Morgan also. We were talking a couple of weeks ago. We might be doing another show here as things progress. So stay tuned. Subscribe to this channel. Also, you, Joe, first. Last words of advice. Crazy times, crazy rapid change. What do you say to people?
Yeah, can't add anything new than what we've always been saying, about stacking your crypto, having some cash on hand, having some precious metals. We've been screaming that for all of us for years. Food source, not too bad either to have things, because as you see, the rioting and stuff's probably going to get worse. If you live in a Democrat city, a big one especially, you're probably going to have some trouble you're going to be dealing with. So if you can avoid it, the best way to avoid it is to not need things out of store. So you can buy big 12 and 24 packs of tuna fish and canned goods, things like that, just for that rainy day where you might need to stay home for a few days, and let the National Guard come in, things like that. I'd say go for it, but other than that, nothing else new that we haven't said before.
All right. Bix, how about you? What say you? How do we navigate all this and stay sane? Is it with a glass of Pinot Noir from a specific winery in your neck of the woods?
Oh my God. You want to hear something funny? We cleared out a storage locker the other day, and we had some expired Y2K food.
Oh my gosh.
26 years ago, we had stocked up on all this canned food that had expired. Oh my God. Yeah, it's been a long road. But yeah, we're coming up to the end of the road, as they say. And I think it's a good thing. I think there are people, the good people out there, who will help us move forward, and just know that right now the people who are running our lives are not good people. It's not good. This isn't good for humanity. It's not good for the soul. So there's a lot of good people with good souls who are going to lead us forward. So I'm excited about it, and keep a stiff upper lip and get as much silver as you can, and be ready to help your friends.
All right. That's it, folks. I'm Jean-Claude Mystic. I love you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.
Au revoir.